Let's talk NASCAR on Prime Sports NASCAR with Eric Smith from RaceReviewOnline.net. And Eric, it's just another week and another awesome race for 2022 in the NASCAR Cup season. So this is working out. This is happening.
It is. We keep talking. Is this going to be the week that the show stinks up and the big teams keep winning? And nope, we still keep going another week. And that's, I mean, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but look at the odds for a Richmond race. I mean, we got 9 and 10 to 1. It's like still Daytona Talladega type numbers, and that's because the parity. I mean, you get a crazy last lap. I mean, you have Colleague and Trackhouse going for the win. Hendrick guy sneaks in and he still doesn't win. It's a Trackhouse car.
Awesome.
So it's 6 different winners, 6 different races. I think 4 different teams. This is working, and I like it.
Well, we'll talk about Richmond and the odds and everything like that on our next show because we're going back to 2 shows a week. We're going to have this show is basically going to be a short recap of what took place as far as the races and anything else that we want to throw in there, including fantasy, because last week we had a cliffhanger regarding our fantasy talk, and we were trying to put together a deal for Kyle Larson. So now it's the beginning of the week. We could strike a deal, so we'll talk about that. But first, let's take a look at the last lap here. Get this thing rolling here. And what we are seeing here is it looks here for just until this point, it kind of looked like, well, wait a second. It looks like Chastain was going to be okay. But then here, it just really, and it always seemed that whenever they got to the turns, that's when AJ kind of got caught up.
Yeah, and you could tell that's what road course racing is you got the lead guy there like Chastain. You're going to take it a little easy going into turns. I mean, why overdrive it? You don't want to get in too hot and make a mistake and miss the corner or the apex and go wide and open the door. So you keep it simple. I mean, this is the 69th lap. You kind of know what you need to do. The guys behind, well, as we saw in the Xfinity and truck race the day prior, you're going to drive it in deep. What do you have to lose?
Of course.
It's braking. True. You're going to brake as late as you can. And that's what you're seeing right here. Ross Chastain, he left the door open. As you can see, the inside's open, and Allmendinger tried to take it, but Chastain got back on the gas too soon. Not too soon, rightfully so. Had the advantage, and then Allmendinger, there you go. Right there is a prime example. Got in too hard, and it forced. Look how wide Chastain is right there.
I thought that was it. I thought he was done.
I did too. Yeah. I did too. So this I would like to point out right there is Chastain had every right to do what he had to do to win the race when that move happened to him. That shocked me out of Allmendinger. I didn't think Allmendinger would do that. I thought he'd race him clean. I thought he'd maybe try to dive bomb him, but not force him. I mean, look how far out Chastain is right there. I mean, right there, that's Chastain's corner. And Allmendinger, that wasn't there. He forced his way in. So then at this point, I literally think at that point right there, Chastain's like, I'm going after him.
Especially after what happened on Saturday.
Yes. Same way. He got spun towards the end with an underfunded team, which, by the way, that team, that car, they needed to win that race because they've moved that car back to part-time. It will not be at Richmond this weekend. So think of the repercussions of that if Chastain would have won in that car, the difference of maybe that car showing up this week. So Chastain, I think he got that as a combo with he's finished second 2 weeks in a row. Right here at this moment, he's going to force his way in front of Bowman, and he's at this thing thinking, I'm not doing this 3 weeks in a row, especially when that was my corner. This is my race. I've been leading. I took over the lead from Reddick. Reddick's nowhere to be found now. And he just moved me out of the way. I'm coming. You can tell he was aggressive now. He's coming.
I tell you what, right here, I was a little nervous. I was like, please don't let it be where he's not going to be able to get back to him.
I was too. And I thought, as you see right here too, not only that Bowman was going to get him. I thought maybe Bowman moves him. And I'm like, great. Now we're going to have 2 guys none of us picked again right here to win the race. Because I was like, there we go again.
We had him.
Me and you had Reddick and Chastain. We had it right there. And for covers, I kid you not, I really wish I would have placed a bet in this race. My 3 sleepers for them going to the final restart were 1, 2, 3. because they all were getting 16-1 or worse
Okay.
odds. And Reddick obviously misjudged the restart, and then you still had Allmendinger Chastain there. But yeah, I thought right here Bowman was going to move him. Luckily, he didn't. This is where
this
you're
is
going
a
to come
really.
into the three.
It really looked like Bowman was gonna steal this one again.
I thought it. I did too, because at this moment right here, it looks like Bowman has got the win. Now Chastain pushing Allmendinger got into Bowman. That if that doesn't happen, Bowman's going to win this race.
That's right.
But as right here, Allmendinger was pushed into Bowman, which ruined both of them. Which, look, if I was Tyler Reddick, Ross Chastain, I'd
Absolutely.
done the same exact thing. He got it. You race how you were raced, and I don't know why a lot of people were saying, well, he roughed up Allmendinger to win the race. Well, no, Allmendinger roughed up him to win the race, and he just paid it. That's why I'm okay
exactly.
with it.
Especially because AJ's not even a full-time driver. Get him out of here.
He was asked about that after the race. If you're not a full-time driver, you can't race like that to knock somebody else, because that's a playoff spot. And so I was okay with how that transpired. I thought it was good TV. It was a good show. I thought the race was entirely way too long.
It was getting. That's what I was thought as well, because it was like the laps were long, and it's like, man, you were going. There's still like 10 more laps to this. So actually, when the cautions came out, considering we both had Chastain, when the cautions came out, I was happy. I was like, good. 2 or 3 more laps that we don't have to worry about. That we don't have, because all that was going to do is possibly put him in danger somehow. But it still ended up finally where we were able to cash a paycheck with the driver that deserved to win the race.
He did. And one thing I think they're going to look at for the future, it seems like what IndyCar and even F1 use is called a local caution. It's you just slow down in the area. You don't need a full course caution. And NASCAR, as we saw in all these yellows, none of them were for like, now granted, there was debris all over the place. But all the other cautions, you really just could have had a local yellow, get the car back moving again, and keep going. Because the cautions, you have a lap from the slowdown for everybody to catch up. You have to have a lap to group for the restarts. There's 2 laps. You have to give a lap for the leaders to pit. And you have to give a lap for the cars a lap down the pit. So your cautions are at the very minimum 4 laps. And on a 3.4-mile track, when it takes 2 minutes to get around there on a normal fast speed lap, you're talking at least a 10-minute caution for a minor spin. So NASCAR, I think, is going to look at the local cautions. And in NASCAR's defense, the only reason up until this point we haven't even had a local caution.
What's a local caution?
So let's just say like Eric Jones stalling in turn 5. Well, you got 2 minutes to clear his car, where NASCAR would call a caution. Well, in the future, a local caution is you just have a caution in the area that he stalled. You just slow down. You can't pass. You just slow down in that only.
Why did they get rid of that?
Well, they've never had it. IndyCar and F1 because in NASCAR stance until 2017, 2018, we've only had 2 road courses.
Okay.
And then you brought in the Roval. And their standpoint was, why change the rules for have 34 races run one way and 2 races run another and confuse the drivers? And, is there a local what am I supposed to do? But now they've mentioned, since there's 6 road courses, we might want to visit this. Now I think there's enough to merit this local caution. These drivers are smart enough to know if there's somebody off in turn 5, don't go barreling through there. Slow down, use precaution, and then by the time you get to turn 7, 8, 9, hit the gas again and go. But you don't need a full 3.4-mile caution period when you can just localize it. And so that's what that is. So I think that speed the race.
And that's just for the road courses.
That's just the road courses. Yeah, because an oval, I don't think you can have a local caution in a crash. They're going around too quick. But yeah, road courses, you definitely.
So anyway, big win for Chastain, and long overdue. Well, for at least the last several weeks, his finishes have just been incredible. So much so that he's now 10-1 to win the championship.
Yeah.
Which is
think about that.
Which is bit overboard, but not if this is what's going to happen all season long. That's the trick.
I mean,
that we still don't know
is.
if this is going to last all season or not. If it is, then okay, Chastain at 10-1, that's all right. I mean, maybe that's okay. If it changes, then that forget it. He's never going to have a chance.
No, and he was last year's car. Last year, he was 70-1. Now he's 10-1. You got to look at how much he's gained. And I think he was 40 or 50-1 to start the year. I know he was better than what he was last year.
Well, even last week he was a high number.
Yeah, and that's why, again, I'm still in my futures, just building. I'm almost there, and now I've got Larson almost to make money. Granted, I don't feel good about Larson winning the championship, but I think I got one more week of $100 on Larson to gain money, and then the door's wide open that these guys are still.
Well, his odds went to 4-1 now.
Yeah, which helps. So there's money to be made. Now I'm feeling even better about my strategy that none of these guys have improved like I didn't think they would. I didn't think you're going to get a big number or a small number for any of these guys. Nobody's showing their. I mean, I was looking at the points yesterday. Like Chase Elliott's got one top 5. He's still the point leader. I mean, Joe Logano hasn't done much. He's like second in point. If you look at the points, you're like, who are these guys? They haven't been up there all. So that helps these odds. But I want to see Chastain. They're going to face adversity again, right? You're not going to go top 3 finish every week. Let's see what they're made of, because that 10-1 is going to drop again. Then you could probably get them at a 18, 20-1 and be like, well, look, he's got the capability. We saw him get to 10-1. Can they respond? When he goes back down, it's like buy low, sell high. I might get him when he goes back down. But 10-1 to me still is too steep. Yeah. Like I don't buy that's going to sustain, and the odds, the minute he cools off, those odds they're coming back down.
And remember, Chastain, you just look at his past history. He doesn't have this like tremendous amount of success in winning races.
No.
So to expect him to win a cup championship all of a sudden, I mean, that's just, those odds should be higher than 10-1. So,
and you're starting to see too, which we'll talk about in our next show. You're starting to see some guys start to heat back up. Like, yes, Chase Elliott's got one top 5. Sure. But he was now 9th, 11th, 6th, 4th. So his finishes are coming around. Joey Logano, I mentioned. Not great. He's kind of been an afterthought. Well, he's still sitting second in points, and he's been 5th, 14th, 8th, 9th. He was on the front row when he spun on a restart, and I don't put a whole lot of stock in COTA for what we're going to see all year, but it's like he was there for a while, so now you got to start Truex. He's got three top 8s in his last 4. So it's like, okay, some guys are starting to come. They're going to eventually figure this out. Yeah. I mean, they're the bigger teams for a reason. Do I really think, like to your point, Trackhouse in their second year of existence with Ross Chastain is just going to magically win a championship? That's why I don't buy the 10-1 yet. I don't. If he was like 18-1, still sure jump all over. But 10-1, it's like I see what they're doing. The guy wins a race and his odds get better. But you also look at Larson. He's been 29th or worse in 4 of the 6 races, and he's 4-1. So it just doesn't make sense. Larson should be every bit of 9-1.
What's that?
Now. They're just going off of. He should be probably 8.
Yeah, he should be with the other guys. I mean, sure.
Yeah, 4 finishes of 29th or worse, and he got a 4-1. Like that doesn't scream.
That shows you how much money has already been placed on him, or since the start of the season. That it's going to take more than just 6 races to change anything.
And I don't know if NASCAR betting still being so young. I don't know if that's going to change.
Not.
Just because, like you said, there's so much money laid on him already that I don't know why they change it. It's probably just going to. It might go to 5-1, but I don't think it's getting any lower than that.
Okay, so before we wrap up, let's get this. Let's see if we can swing a deal or not. If not,
all right,
we'll bring this back to another discussion date. We'll table it. But Larson on the board. Now I'm gonna start off. If I give you Larson, and I'm just gonna say, okay, this is gonna be a 2 for 2, so we know that.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
So I'm gonna start off with Harvick. Okay, so I'm gonna again, Harvick is right now. I think he's okay. I think that maybe there's some good stuff there. I already have Christopher Bell as well, so we know. So I think that's a team that can get better, but that's a hope. That's something that hasn't happened yet. But I'm willing to roll the dice with Harvick and his experience and all that. All right. So, what would you then be willing to trade me in order to even this out? Or, what other driver would you want in exchange if you want to throw two more drivers into the mix there? One for you, one for me.
Willing to give up. I'd still give up Logano. And let's see, you've already got Larson on.
Yeah, you know what? And let me do this because I should have. I'm gonna put up this is our standings. Okay, so everybody can see. So this is my team here. Okay, I got Bowman, Blaney, Larson, Kurt Busch, Keselowski, Briscoe, and Bell. CJ's in second, and there's Eric right here. These are his drivers. Chastain, he just picked him up a couple of weeks ago. Almirola, Suarez, Logano, Harvick, Reddick, and Hamlin. Okay, so that's how it looks. So what do you think?
I'd say that's what's hard is because I still feel like Logano, you'd probably need another A-name driver per se to make it, and you'd have to give up probably.
Who do you think is better,
B-name.
Logano or Hamlin?
Right now, based off those points, obviously, Logano.
Well, what do you think? It's your team.
I just feel like Hamlin's eventually going to figure it out.
Past Logano?
I just feel it. Okay. Yeah, I just feel Toyotas have done this before. They started off like this and they figure it out. I mean, it's not like they've not had speed. It seems like Hamlin's always around the top 10. It just a misshift, overheating issue for the whole Toyota.
I think Hamlin's going to come back. I do.
But I also struggle to say that Logano usually figures this out too eventually. I mean, he's been quiet and he's still second in points. Like eventually he's going to find victory lane. And I don't see them going through another one-win season, especially with a new car. I just feel he can get a couple trips to victory lane. So that's my only pause is.
All right. Well, let's say if you included Reddick, Harvick and Reddick.
You got Larson and I'd say it's got to be at that point probably Kurt or Briscoe would make that more even. I feel like Bell's starting to come around. I would say at that, with Larson being gone, Blaney would be untouchable. I don't know why you'd give two of the top guys up.
So it would be Kurt Busch or Briscoe with Harvick.
Yes.
For Harvick and Reddick.
For Harvick and Reddick.
Larson and Kurt Busch or Briscoe. Or
Reddick and Harvick.
Let's see. Who's teammates with Briscoe right now?
Harvick and Custer and Almirola.
Custer.
One could say he's the better of the Stewart-Haas drivers right now. I mean, that's the only other factor. I mean,
all right. So if we did Larson and Kurt Busch for Harvick and Reddick, you're okay with that?
I'd say that's probably I'm okay with that.
All right, I'll roll the dice on that.
Okay.
All right, so there you go. We just consummated a big trade.
That is a big. That's the.
Larson goes out and wins this week, and he wins 7 of his next 8.
Yeah, then you're. I just. We'll talk on our next show. I don't buy him right now. I don't buy him for this week at all. I didn't.
No, this week, yeah.
9-1. I mean, you're getting him at 9-1, but I mean, we look at what he did in COTA. I mean, one can make a case. Did you even know he was even in the race?
I mean, no, not really. And again, he was 4-1.
4-1. And I wrote about that going back to last week's race. The takeaway is I just feel like Hendrick's road course advantage is gone. They didn't even lead a lap. Their 69 run, they didn't lead a single lap. Qualifying, Bowman was their best guy. Started 5th, finished 2nd, but he really wasn't like dominant up front. He'll say
Well,
he's
that's
not a good
because
road
that's
course
Alex
racer.
Bowman, man. He just steals
Yep.
races.
He just happens to be there. If you look at Chase Elliott, I mean, like they kept talking on the broadcast. He just felt like he was out to lunch. I mean, he was there in fourth.
Yeah,
at
he
the
always
end, but I
hung
think part
out
of that,
like 6th to 10th. That's where he was hanging out.
yeah. Last year, the year before was always first or second.
Dominating.
I feel like he's lost. Yep, Larson same way. Nowhere they finished 1-2 last year.
I can't wait to see what the odds are the next road course.
That's what you got to compare. Yes, and I think it's Sonoma, which they were 1-2 again last year. Yeah, I want to see that.
That's got to come back. And it's got to be like 5-1, 6-1,
at least. Yeah. And while we're talking about last week, before we wrap it up, what can Fox Sports please? How do you miss the 5th place car spinning? Kyle Busch was 5th in the last lap, and he finished 30.
I didn't even notice.
They didn't even mention it. It took a fan video or an onboard.
You mean they never even went back after the race to talk about it?
No, you never. No, it took till yesterday because people are like, "What happened to Kyle Busch?" Because as a 5th place finisher, he's not obligated to have to talk to the media. He doesn't have to go to the press conference. It's just he can pull his. Or no, not 5th place. He's finished 30th, 30th or 32nd. You just pull back to the hauler and you get out of there. Nobody knew what happened. I mean, not a single soul knew what happened. Well, he spun. He spun by himself.
I thought Chase Elliott said that he was to blame.
That was for an incident earlier in the race. This was towards the end of the race. Kyle spun. Nobody knew what happened. They just saw he was 5th, and then he was 32nd.
Last lap?
And Fox never even – last lap. They never mentioned it. Not a single word was said of, hey, a 5th place finisher isn't there anymore. He's back in the 30s. It took a fan to find, like, you know how sometimes they have the onboard cameras on their website or the social media channels that you can just watch only the onboard. It took a fan to post a video of his recording of it that Kyle spun by himself. And it's like,
why? It's not good. It's not. It's like, it's obvious they don't have an assistant with them in the booth. They have, for some reason, they don't think that that's important to hire. You don't even have to pay the guy. You can get somebody as an intern to go in there and just, you can get an intern in every track. Oh, I get to go to the race. I get tickets. You give him a couple tickets to his family, whoever he wants. But you have to work in the booth and you have to make sure that this is your assignment. And this way, these things won't get by.
Yeah, like the fact that it got through, and he's a big name driver. He's a driver, either you love him or hate him. He was running 5th. If you go back and look at the last lap, he's 5th. And he's not there anymore when they cross the line. And there was no mention.
And they have wagering. They have driver wagers. Top 5.
Yep. Top 5, top 10. They didn't mention a word. Nobody knew. And I had in my article, like, Kyle, he last lap problem. I had no idea what happened to him. I had to put problem because nobody said anything. And it's like, how does TV miss that? I feel like Fox Sports has been terrible this year. It's like the pre-race show is like, it's a joke. It's like, could you take this a little serious?
Oh, you mean they're still doing the Darrell Waltrip walks around to talk to the driver nonsense?
And it's so awkward. It just, the whole thing's awkward. Their skits are weird. Like, they went to Vegas. They tried to do like another skit of The Hangover with Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott, the drama in the desert. And I'm like, that Hangover was popular a decade ago. Like, can you come up with something fresh, something, or at least take it serious? Like, you don't see the CBS March Madness coverage of jokes and joking around and laughter and play. It's like, people don't care. Like, you really, I'm seeing on social media on race day, they are getting grilled. And then the in-race coverage to miss the 5th place guy spin by himself. That's the only multi-time champion in the field right now, spun by himself, and you don't even mention it. That you can't do that. You cannot do that.
And it's, and they're having such a great season. But the other thing they're doing is they have different analysts like every race.
Yeah, they're kind of doing like that guest third analyst that it.
And that's not going to work because of the fact that the guys that they're bringing in, they're not seasoned. So they're not going to be very good right off the bat. Why don't you give them an opportunity to, unless they don't want to. Maybe Tony Stewart doesn't want to be there for more than a race every 4 or 5 weeks.
and I don't think he does because he just got married to an NHRA driver, and he owns a team. She drives for him, so I think he wants to be at those races with her. Plus, he's got his own race. It's like you're bringing guys in that he's got his own race team. Like Jeff Gordon now is a big part of Hendrick. Next week is Chad Canals, which, hey, I like to see a crew chief, but he's the competition. Like he's ahead of that with Hendrick. So can we get honestly, the Xfinity and truck races, when you have Kurt Busch or Logano and Kozlowski and Blake, they do a really, really good job. It's because they just were in the car. They're relevant. They know. I feel like Boyer, I like Boyer. I think he's funny, but he's just that. He's funny. I don't know how serious he could really tell you what's going on. I think, honestly, this makes a strong case for Kurt Busch and Kevin Harvick as older guys in the series that had done a great job in the booth. I feel like it makes them more valuable. I feel like those are the guys you need in the booth. You need an ex-crew chief that knows what he's doing, that's serious enough, that knows what he's talking strategy.
How can you not
don't
find
have that.
And it's not like the crew chief has to be this 10-time champion, just the crew chief. I mean,
just a guy that knows what he's
that's
talking
all.
about. Yeah.
Doesn't have, he could be a very good analyst, and he doesn't have to be a great crew chief. It happens all the time.
No, you have good crew chiefs that maybe not part of a big team, but they know what they're doing. They know the strategy, know how to set up a car. You need somebody relevant. And I just feel like you got to have a driver and a crew chief in the booth. It works best. With Mike Joy is a great play-by-play guy. He can only do what he's being told or what the guest analyst or the analyst has got with them. And I mean, there just seems not the chemistry seems off. And
that's what happens when you bring in new guys every week. So.
Yeah, they're not paying attention to the fifth place guy that spins and relevancy. So you need something. And honestly, it'd be great to have. Would it be so hard to get a betting analyst in there to talk betting to help?
It would be a good idea. Hey, they just they flash the odds, and that's all they do. And it's, I mean, how hard is it to get a sponsor even to pay big bucks and say, okay, we're going to put this analyst that you approve, and he's going to talk, throughout the race even. But definitely, instead of having Darrell Waltrip walk around for 5 or 10 minutes and do stupid stuff before the race, we'll do a good 5-minute gambling kind of report, and it's sponsored, and you can make some money. I mean, these casinos will give you a boatload of cash for something like that.
They would, because it gets more people betting NASCAR. But yeah, because I feel like that's a good fan market that you haven't tapped into yet to even help the numbers more and explain why people I heard Larry Mack say it last week. I didn't really hear it on the broadcast much, that on road course races, in order to win the race, you really don't want to win the stage. You just want to give up points. They didn't say that on the broadcast much. They didn't tell you why you need a pit before the stage ends for track position, and don't pay a whole lot of attention to these stage results. Or Denny Hamlin, he really could use stage points because he's so far back in the standings. Well, that's what he went and won. You barely talked about it. Tell people why, and I feel like that's what. That's what
happens when you don't have continuity. Because the guy that comes in for that 1 week, he doesn't really care about any of that all season long kind of data. He just cares about, I got to do my job for the race and talk about the race and talk about who's leading. And I don't care about what happened in 5th place. And I just, so it's a whole big mess, and that's what happens. But
it is. And you get guys, and I thought Tony Stewart's done good for just throwing the wolves, and I thought he's done a good job. He's a Hall of Famer, but he's not going to divulge too much info because at the end of the day, he's a team owner.
True.
So they're preparing all week for his 4 cars, and I'm sure I'm not naive enough to think that he doesn't have to sit in every meeting, but he's got to know some plans, what's going on. He's not going to share that. Why would he? It'd be like taking a front office guy of an NBA team and putting him on the national broadcast. You're not going to share everything that you know. So when you use guys like Tony Stewart, Jeff Gordon, Chad Canals this week, it's how much can they really give you? They've got to teeter the line of what to give you and what not to give up secrets. And that's why you get retired drivers who have no ties inside the garage as far as team personnel wise, and they can tell you what's going on. I want to know more what's going on inside that car, why they're doing what they're doing. Well, you're not giving us that right now. I feel like that It's the only complaint I probably have of the whole season so far
Well,
is that. Which if that's the only thing,
it's
then
only one race, and that's the thing. It's not like other sports where you have a bunch of different events going on every week or all day, and then here's the big one of the here's the big race of the 10 races for today. So we've got the big crew. It's like, no, you have the
yep.
same. It's the same. You only have one race, so we're gonna tune in no matter what. We don't really need to have a marquee name that's like a Tony Romo or a Troy Aikman. We don't care about that. See, that separates
Nope.
the big game from the little games. I understand that sport, why they do it. Doesn't have to be a NASCAR. I don't need a name. Just give me somebody that knows what they're talking about. That's all we care. Because we're going to watch the race anyway.
Exactly. And what they've done, and I wrote about this last week or early. Yeah, it was last week when the ratings came out from the IndyCar and F1 and NASCAR, that NASCAR's now positioned themselves with a TV deal ends, which we've talked about for years, is there's no way they're going to get that anywhere close to $1 billion deal anymore. Now I think they're going to get a raise. If you look at all the numbers and people bash, look, these numbers aren't anything compared to the past. Well, nothing is. Newsflash, nothing is. But if you look, other than the big giant NFL, NASCAR's second. They're beating every other sport in numbers. They've shown they can run in a pandemic. They don't have to have, if it all hell breaks loose again, they can race without fans in the stands. TV is, they look at them as very valuable. And plus, they made a good point that I heard last week. And people always thought, well, why do you race against the NFL in the fall? If you know that you're not going to get the numbers against them, why go head to head? Well, here's why. It's because NBC knows that Fox and CBS have NFL games all day. NBC and ESPN they're not just going to punt away. They're not going to show you rugby or water polo or tag. I've seen tag on TV. Tag. That's a sport. Tag or cornhole. Well, they need something there. Well, why not grab the second best rated sport in America? Well, we'll take them because we know even going head to head, we can get 3 million fans to watch. So while you got that, let's spruce up the broadcast. Let's give these fans something, a reward, or like explain to them what's going on. You're not going to grow if you just have this weird broadcast.
It's almost like you have to. It's almost like DraftKings has to actually go to them and say, "Hey,
yes,
we have an idea. We'll write you out a check for this much, but we want you to do this for us." Why would they say no?
Exactly. It's free revenue coming in. You're getting money, and you can't ignore it. And they're doing a better job in their weekly releases. They send for the track. They give you matchups to watch. They're actually giving you betting matchups. NASCAR is. Well, let's take it a step further. Hell, I write for covers. It won't hurt for them to share some of my stuff. Do something. Nobody else is doing anything. It's right out there for you if you want it. But how badly do you want it? Because I'd say motorsports betting is still pretty low in the spectrum of betting. Especially, I get it. It's March Madness. You got a lot of betting that way.
This is how you grow it.
But you got it there. Yeah, especially with the parity. You would think with these odds.
Now there's money to be made.
From the NASCAR. Yes. Yeah. Other than Larson, I've got it right here. The next, he was 4-1 in Fontana. The next lowest guy to win was 12-1. I mean, you got 28-1, 4-1, 18-1, 50-1, 12-1, and 25-1. Those are your winners this year. Those are your odds this week are 9-1 is your favorite.
And Larson, by the way, was 4-1 in the. I think it was the last. What was the last Martinsville Richmond race? Might have been Richmond or Martinsville, one of the two. But I have them both in the same category since they're both short tracks. And I always save the last race odds. So when I went and moved them up, I went, wow, Larson was 4-1. Might have been Martinsville. I don't remember.
Yeah, it's probably.
But now it's 9-1.
It was the playoff race last year. Yeah, no, doubled. Nothing's changed other than the car. So it goes to show you the car is helping.
So far, so good. So keep our fingers crossed. This is going to happen all season long. Coming up, we're going to post our preview of the race at Richmond the day after we post this show. And that's going to be every week pretty much. Schedule might change here or there. But anyway, that's it for our recap of the crazy finish at Texas for the Echo. What was that? The Echo. What is the real
EchoPark Automotive
Is
Grand Prix.
that really? That's how they want to.
Yeah,
Okay,
I got this.
EchoPark Automotive Grand Prix, and and we'll be back again next week to recap the race at Richmond that we're going to preview on our next show. So, Eric, and by the way, when you check out all that fantasy stuff that we just posted, where you can get it, racereviewonline.net. So, Eric posts all of that information there, including the new trade that we just consummated. And we'll see how that works out for both of us. So, Eric, appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you. Sounds good.